And with that, let's talk about the other MCU property that came out just recently, Thor: Love and Thunder. So, this will be a full spoiler review and discussion. I will be taking questions that I got from the community page. If you guys have questions for upcoming MCU projects like with She-Hulk and with Black Panther Wakanda Forever, and if I will be taking questions, I will be posting that on the community page. So check back there, and your question will be featured on the podcast. Your name will be shouted out, and all that sort of stuff. So make sure to check back there. But this will be a full spoiler review and discussion. I'll be talking about a lot of different things about the movie and answering your guys' questions as well. So, Thor: Love and Thunder. Spoilers ahead. You've been warned. I'll start out by saying this. I love Ragnarok. Ragnarok is a top 10 MCU movie for me. I love Ragnarok. It is funny. It is not as... I don't think the serious moments hit as much as they do for other people. When Asgard is destroyed or when Thor loses Odin, I don't think Odin's death really is... I don't think it has the same dramatic weight as I think it was meant to. But I love Thor Ragnarok. I love Jojo Rabbit, one of my favorite movies of that year that it came out. Taika Waititi directing and playing Hitler, of all people, in that film. I think he did a really great job in that, ironically, in a spoofy parody way of Hitler. And I think Taika Waititi is great. He did a great episode of The Mandalorian as well, so I'm super excited about his Star Wars movie. Thor: Love and Thunder, the trailers for Thor: Love and Thunder have looked awesome. Funny, and endearing, maybe even, and scary with Gore the God Butcher, Christian Bale's Gore the God Butcher. And so, I mean, I had every expectation that while I didn't need Thor: Love and Thunder to replicate Thor Ragnarok, I thought it could be to the same level, potentially. It turns out, in my opinion, and this is just my view, so if you love the movie, if you hated the movie, I'm just here to tell you my view. In my view, Thor: Love and Thunder didn't come close to Ragnarok, and that's okay. It didn't need to. However, I think it is also fair to say that Thor: Love and Thunder to me is a disappointing movie, and not just disappointing because it didn't live up to Thor Ragnarok, but because I think it itself, in its truest form, in its best form, based on the story that they gave, could have been a lot better. And I'll talk about why. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, Thor: Love and Thunder kind of sits now in the middle towards the bottom. Like the sort of, if 50% is the middle, maybe towards like the 40% of the MCU. Not way down at the bottom, obviously, but, you know, like hovering middle to lower middle of the MCU. And I'll tell you a couple reasons why. First of all, at least for me, and I'll talk about the negatives first, and then I'll talk about all the things that I really liked about the movie. And then we'll take your questions, and then we'll be out of here. But to start off with the negatives, I didn't think the movie was nearly as funny as Thor Ragnarok, and I'm not sure why that is. Comedy is comedy, so I'm just gonna say this out, up front, because this is probably easily the most subjective part of this entire review. Comedy is just so inherently subjective. I was just a little surprised because I love the humor in Ragnarok, and I didn't laugh as much as I did in Ragnarok as in Love and Thunder. Sorry, did I say that wrong? I didn't laugh as much in Love and Thunder as I did in Ragnarok. I think that it's interesting because there are a lot of similar kinds of jokes that are made in Thor: Love and Thunder as they are in Ragnarok. But I think also that it dives a lot deeper into just the sillier slapstick comedy. Sorry guys if you can hear things moving around. I just have to plug something in. But anyways, it dives a lot deeper into just this silly, goofy aspect of the character. And for those, for all the people saying Thor is really dumb in this movie, I don't think he's as dumb as the trailers make him look out to be. I think he's funny, and he's not as serious as he used to be. But again, I think that it's a natural progression for the character to me that I buy that. But for whatever reason, the humor for the most part didn't really work for me. Which is unfortunate. I don't know why. And the humor is a big part of the movie, obviously. I think the funniest part of the movie is the screaming goats. I love the goats. They're so funny to me. And the whole Stormbreaker Mjolnir thing, being jealous of each other, minus him pouring beer onto Stormbreaker. That part didn't quite work well for me, but whatever. That's fine. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't find a lot of the movie as funny. I chuckled. Let's just say I chuckled in this movie more than I laughed. So that's one thing up front to note is like I didn't find the movie as funny, and therefore I probably, that's probably why I right off the bat I didn't like it as much as Thor Ragnarok. But to me, this movie also had a balancing problem. And I said this immediately after I came out of the movie, and I still maintain this to this day. I've only seen it once. I've seen it about a week ago. This movie should have been longer. And not just arbitrarily longer, but I think that this movie needed specific aspects that it was missing to be inserted in, and it could have done with an extra 10, 15, 20 minutes of runtime. Here is specifically what I think this movie needed. This movie needed, I think, Jane to reveal to Thor that she had cancer right from the beginning. I think that having that emotional dread and weight throughout the movie allows you to still crack the jokes and whatever at Omnipotent City or whatever, but it carries that weight from the beginning until the end, right? And I think that having it the way that it is now, it kind of is just like Jane is like, I have cancer, and Thor's like, oh, and he turns serious for a second, and then it's like, as sad as this makes me, I didn't feel anything when Jane died. I know a lot of people did, but it was because I felt something missing. I guess I'm just interweaving things I liked and didn't like. That's what I meant, what I'm doing, I guess. I loved the backstory and the flashbacks with Thor and Jane. I loved that. I loved that that Taika fleshed out their character and their romance. It felt so much more real. It's so much more true to life, as a real relationship and a breakup. I loved that part of the movie. I have no complaints about that. And I think that I just would have felt a lot more if Jane had told Thor that she had cancer earlier on. Because I think that there are really serious parts of the movie that I think just needed to be balanced in there a little bit more earlier on. So there's that thing. I needed more of gore. I've always said, right, there's a difference between a good performance and a good character. When you get both, it is rare. It is welcome, especially in the MCU and especially in the MCU villains catalog. But it is rare, but it is welcome. And you get things like Killmonger. You get Thanos, you get Vulture. Good characters, good performances. Christian Bale is Christian Bale. He's awesome. He gave a great performance. I still think this character, while better than most of the other Thor villains, which isn't saying a lot in my opinion, I needed to see more. And I've always said this about the Thor villains. I think that Hela, a lot of people think Hela's a great villain. I disagree. I think Hela's a pretty poor to average villain. And the only reason that it's saved is because Cate Blanchett is giving the performance of her life. Not the performance of her life. She's given other awesome performances, but a great performance in that film. I say the same thing about Hugo Weaving as the Red Skull. He's a Nazi. That's fine. Good villain. That's fine. Doesn't mean that it's fine that he's a Nazi. It's fine that it's fine that he gave a good performance as the Nazi character Johann Schmidt. But the character is not a good character. It's just a flat villain, right? And I think that if you had seen another scene of Christian Bale murdering gods, but also in that scene feeling that remorse for his daughter, because we'll talk about the daughter thing at the end, the love thing at the end. I think that's cute. I think it's fine. I think it's cool that Thor and his daughter are going to be a team now. I have a lot of questions. We can get to that in a little bit. But anyways. But I would have felt a lot more when she came back if we had seen another scene with him, with Gore, just grieving the loss of his daughter and feeling that emotional weight. I have no problems with the end of the film in itself. I just don't feel like it was earned, if that makes sense. The whole wishing to eternity portion of the film, where Thor is grieving Jane's death and all that sort of stuff. So there's that. Now with Thor's daughter, I have a lot of questions about the character. Obviously it's cute that it was Chris Hemsworth's daughter, and they had great chemistry. Obviously that was cute and all that sort of stuff. Obviously, I just have why does she have superpowers all of a sudden, and why and what and how, and I think that character kind of being inserted at the end of the film. I love the callback to Love and Thunder. I think that's great. Does she have a name? I don't know. But I needed a little bit more explanation into her character at the end, I think. That's all. So again, like I said, the film had the bare bones, not the bare bones, a lot of the, like 70% to be that Thor Ragnarok level film. And I hate to keep comparing to Thor Ragnarok. That's not what I want to do here. But it's just that I think the film needed 20 more minutes of interspersed scenes at very specific points that I if I had seen this cut of the film and we still had the time and the money to do reshoots, which I don't think that was possible at that point. But let's just say I was Kevin Feige and I saw this cut and we still had the actors lined up to do reshoots. I would have suggested all of those things to them, to Taika to do. And I think it would have made it a much better film. Let's talk about all the things I did like. Thor. Love Thor. I think Thor is great, as always. I think Chris Hemsworth, I think he will be an Avenger for a long time to come. And I think that was fun. He did a great job, as always, with the serious moments and with the funny moments, as he always does. Natalie Portman as Jane. And like I said, their relationship, Thor and Jane, best it's ever been. Best it's ever been, by far. I think she did a great job. She's an Oscar-winning, Academy Award-nominated actress. She's brilliant. I think winning. Oscar, Academy Award-winning actress. She is awesome as Jane. I think that her transition into the Mighty Thor was a little quick, and I think some of the lines were a little cheesy, intentionally so, but still kind of iffy there. But, like the scene where they're kind of planning what to do, and she's like, well, let's bring the rainbow, and they make a joke out of it, but it still kind of came off a little flat and whatever. That's fine. Doesn't matter. Not a big deal. Valkyrie's great, as always. Korg is fun, as always. I think Zeus is so funny. So I loved Zeus in this film. I think that, for what it's worth, I know a lot of people, won't love Zeus in this film, but I think that he was great. But yeah, I think that most of the characters were really well done. Obviously, the goats were awesome. The visuals, the scene at the Shadow Realm, so cool. One of the most visually stunning scenes. I'm going to rewatch that over and over again, I'm sure, when it comes out. One of the most visually stunning scenes in an MCU film. Loved it. Loved it. The Guardians themselves were fine, I think. They were fun. That's another thing. If you didn't want the film to be longer, though, I actually think the Guardians of the Galaxy should have been cut out entirely from the film. That might be unpopular. They serve no purpose in the film, honestly. I think the Guardians should have been cut out entirely from the film. So that's just my thought on that, in terms of balancing. But I think they themselves were fun. They were fine. What else is there? I think that the stuff with the kids is okay. It could have been a lot worse, I will say. So I'm glad that it didn't delve into just spoofy territory, although it got pretty close when Thor imbued them all with the Zeus lightning bolt thunder, whatever he did. So there's that. And aside from that, it's a very self-contained film. The post-credit scenes have nothing to do with the MCU. It's really Thor 5 with Hercules, which I haven't seen Ted Lasso. I know I need to see Ted Lasso, but Brett Goldstein, I'm sure he'll do a great job as Hercules, and that'll be fun. Thor 5, Hercules versus Thor, I'm sure. And for me, the end credits scene is an indication with Jane and Valhalla and Heimdall that she's coming back, which is disappointing to me. I'm not trying to be sadistic, but I think that Jane's death was very appropriate for the film, and it should have stayed that way if Natalie Portman truly wanted to be done with the franchise. If she wanted to come back, you shouldn't have killed her off. I don't know. It feels a little cheap to me. That's really the film. There's not a lot to it, and I think that just the fact that it wasn't as funny, and I think I had pretty significant problems with the pacing and the way that the film was constructed, make it a pretty decent MCU film, though not great. It's good. It's not great. And there are a lot of MCU films like that, which is, a little disappointing. I do think that I like Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness a little bit more at this point in time. We'll see, though. We'll see where the ranking goes. So with that, I'm going to be taking some of your guys' questions. Thank you to the two of you who submitted the questions. I will pull them up right now. Let's see where they are. And where are they? I had them up somewhere. They're there. Okay. So again, if you guys want to submit questions, just keep an eye out on the community tab. And I'll be I'm always posting polls and questions out there. So if you guys ever want to do something there, respond, interact, I'm always out there. And yeah, so let's take a look here, shall we? Okay, first question from fellow YouTuber and good friend of the channel, Super Wise. Are you excited for Thor's future past Love and Thunder? I personally am. Sorry, I just got to get closer to the mic to read it. Got to get closer to the mic to read the question. So if it's a little louder, I apologize. Anyways, I personally am. Thor being a father and raising a child, a new arc for the character. Cannot wait for that dynamic. Thank you so much, Superwise, as always, for submitting a great question. Am I excited for Thor? This might be unpopular. I'm not going to say no, but I don't think I want to see another Thor film for a long time. I think the next time he shows up, I agree. Him being a father is a new way to take the character, and I think that that's good. I think that'll be fun. I really do think that'll be fun. Whether or not it's India Hemsworth, his daughter, playing the character, who, I mean, I'm sure she was adorable, but I'm sure that they're going to recast the character and bring in probably a more experienced young actress to play the role, as they did with Cassie Lang. To much chagrin, I would add, by the MCU fans. But anyways, that's a different scenario, though. That's because we already got an older Cassie Lang in Endgame and recast her. But like, I don't think anyone, because they needed an older stature version of Cassie Lang. From the younger version, they brought in Catherine Newton. I'm sure that they'll do the same thing here if they're really doing Young Avengers. But anyways, am I excited for Thor post Love and Thunder? I'm gonna say that I love Thor as a character. I love Chris Hemsworth, and I think that I'll be ready to see him again in a Thor adventure at some point. But for now, I think that I just rather have him be in team-up movies for the time being. I think that I've gotten my fill of Thor. I think that the best Thor has ever been was Infinity War and not Endgame, just Infinity War. I love Infinity War Thor. The emotional, brutal parts of Thor, but also the comedy and the jokes. I love that. So I think, I'll be excited to see a Thor versus Hercules movie if that ever happens, but I just don't know. I just don't know. I think that excitement is perhaps not the right word, but I'm satisfied, more than satisfied with Thor's arc in this film and where he will be going in the future. I think Chris Hemsworth will play Thor for a long time. So there's that. Thank you, Superwise, again. And the next 4 questions, thank you for submitting all these questions, is from Chill Dude 1, 2, and 3. Sorry, 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, 3. And first question from Chill Dude 1, 2, 3. Do you think Thor's character has regressed? Let's see, to acting more like immature Thor. Sorry, the question keeps moving around. He came to overcome in his first solo movie. I don't think so. I think that there is a regression of the character of Thor from Infinity War onwards, but not to the point that it's the immature Thor from Thor 1. No. I think that the idea of Thor having a midlife crisis is funny, and I think it's appropriate. So I don't think it's a regression in that way. Like you being immature as a child versus you being immature in a midlife crisis are two different things, although they can have overlap. So I don't see it as a regression in that sense. I just see it more as a regression of I like the Infinity War Thor more, and I just don't think they've been able to recapture that sense. So that's what I think about that. Next question he thinks, from Chill Dude 1, 2, 3, is where do you generally rank this movie in Phase 4? That's a good question. In Phase 4 alone. To be honest with you, Phase 4 has not been the strongest for me. I think that there have been individual projects that have been really, really good. WandaVision. Loki. Not Loki. Sorry, I didn't like Loki. Scratch that. I don't know why I said Loki. WandaVision, Eternals, Shang-Chi, Miss Marvel. Really strong projects. And a lot of those projects are floating in the upper end. And then you have a lot of projects floating in the lower end. What If? Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Loki. And then you have a few kind of just in the middle. Doctor Strange 2 and Hawkeye. And I think Thor Love and Thunder kind of fits in that range. Thor Love and Thunder kind of fits in that Doctor Strange 2 and Hawkeye realm. They're good. They're good. They're fun. But not transcending to the... I love Eternals, by the way. So not transcending to that kind of level of Eternal, Shang-Chi, and WandaVision, if that makes sense. Good question, though. Number 3 from Chill Dude 1, 2, 3. Did you like Jane as the Mighty Thor? Yes, I did. I think that if there was room for the character to grow, I would have liked to see more. I was more than happy to see her arc finished in this film. I'm a little bummed that they faked her death out again just as quickly in the post-credit scene. So, there's that. But was I a fan? Absolutely. I think Natalie Portman was the best that she had ever been in any of the Thor films. I really liked her in this film. And the final question from Chill Dude 1, 2, and 3: were the Guardians of the Galaxy underused, or is it good they didn't overstay their welcome? And I've addressed this question already. It's a good question. I think they shouldn't have been in this film at all. I don't think that anything that they did in particular made them overstay their welcome. But I also think that they were not necessary to the story in the slightest. I think that, I think that it's important to know when setup is set up within a movie and when it's just set up for another film. And I get it that he was with the Guardians after Thor, Avengers and Endgame. But I think that it would have sufficed just to have them in a montage of Thor training and all that sort of stuff. Even just Thor lifting the Benatar was an implication that he was with the Guardians. I don't think they needed to be in this film at all. I don't. I'm not disappointed that they were. I think they were fine. But yeah, I don't think they needed to be in this film at all. So there's that. All right, guys, and that will do it for Thor: Love and Thunder. I thought the film was fine. I thought it was enjoyable. I'll probably rewatch it again when it comes out on Disney Plus, and that'll be that, probably for a while. So that is it for Thor: Love and Thunder. Leave your thoughts in the comments down below, and I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on that as well.